It's now time for us to check the Soviet supply. The Soviets have done their special move, they've attacked, they've moved again, and now at the beginning of the Axis turn, it's time to see which Soviet units managed to get in supply and which didn't. The practice we've been using as playtesters is usually to have the opponents check the supply, because, you know, I'm the Russian, I'll assume everything's in supply, possibly. The Germans, they've got an incentive to find the ones that are in trouble. The other thing
But
that
as playtesters, we trust each other.
yeah, the other thing that we've done, which really helped us, is we've started using dice, which show 6 or 8 or some other combinations of numbers. These are the radius of supply sources. And what we found is helpful is we can put one of these dice on the map to say that Leningrad is a radius 6 supply source, and then it's really easy for us to start from here and go 2, 4, 6. He's within the radius, he's got a line of communication, he's in supply. And so we just go across the whole map checking all these units. And so, for instance, this line of big Soviet armies here is out of supply. They're too far from Moscow. Moscow would also be a 6, but Moscow's supply only reaches to here. Leningrad only reaches to about here. And Minsk would be close enough, but it's isolated. This rail line right here is cut by the zone of control of this Panzer Army. So there's no rail getting into Minsk, and so there's no supplies coming out of Minsk. And so Minsk, rather than being a 6 supply source, is broken right now. The same thing happens up here in Riga, where it's surrounded by land. It is a port, but the Axis controls the Baltic Sea, and so no supplies can get into Riga by either land or rail, and so both Riga, the city, and this unit are isolated. And so they're at this unit is at a risk of losing a step, and we'll roll for that in just a minute. These other ones with the out of supply marker, they have communication. They can get some bare supplies and instructions and whatever from the rear, but they don't have enough to be fully effective attacking. These will attack at half strength. The one that's isolated can't attack and can only move 1 hex at a time. One other thing which is interesting, to be in supply, a unit both needs to be close enough to a supply source, needs to be within this radius, and also needs a line of communication. If they've got a line of communication with no supply, they get an out of supply marker. But those lines of communication, for most units, this unit projects a ZOC, this unit projects a ZOC here, you wouldn't be able to trace a line of communication through here. A leg unit, a wheeled unit wouldn't be able to trace a line of communication through here. But this one is mechanized. And mechanized units with the white movement number, they can trace lines of communication, and so potentially supply through enemy ZOCs, through foot ZOCs. So since both these are infantry and this is mechanized, he is in communication. It's a complicated line. You have to go through this hex and then kind of around here, and then he gets open, he's connected to the rail line. He can at least get some bare amount of supply. He can't attack fully, he only attacks at half strength, but he's basically okay for now. And so the Axis players will double check this, and then they'll proceed with their turn. Once they're all done moving, I will check the Axis players' supply.